This is Perp back with another video, and Chucky is back. This is the season premiere of season 3, and what a way to kind of start off this season. We catch up with, where Jake is at, where Lexy and Devon are at in their life. It's like a year since season 2. Jake is still into his doll shit, but he also seems to have some social media influence and is trying to look for a good guy doll because it seems like they are all gone. There hasn't been any sightings. Lexy, on the other hand, is still trying to find out what happened to her sister because she was kidnapped. And Devon's still doing his podcast stuff. So we'll get back into that, but the episode begins with us getting introduced to brand new characters that are going to be somewhat of the main focus of this season. Henry, he's hiding in his closet. His mom, I think it was Charlotte, comes in, and Henry's just completely terrified. He's scared of this place, and they are in the White House, and Henry is afraid of ghosts. He thinks like the ghosts are trying to get him, and his mom is trying to let him know, like, there's no ghost, there's nothing, to really worry about. And this is where we get introduced to Chucky, or as Henry likes to call this good guy doll, Joseph, which is very interesting going into what happens later as all the lights just start to just die off, or just cut out, which leads the Secret Service to kind of take extra precaution, take all the family below ground. But then once the power goes back up, they're able to kind of go back to normal. And also Henry has a brother named Grant, which he likes to smoke pot. And I like that throughout this episode they showed that the Secret Service people have certain connections to the kids. You know what I'm saying? They're like a part of the family, almost like uncles. So of course, as anything happens in the White House has to get like some type of press run, and this redheaded chick is really diving deep into something, trying to find some type of dirt on President Collins, James Collins, and that's going to be interesting to see what role she kind of plays in this. But then we get to this like breakfast, I guess. Yeah, it's like a breakfast kind of scene where they're all sitting around the table. The mom and Grant kind of have this kind of back and forth. But what's interesting is Henry is really fascinated or into looking at the history of the White House and who's died in it, or just all the different kind of ghosts. Even though it scares him, he definitely seems to be gathering an interest. We already know that Chucky is definitely pulling the strings behind the scenes. And now, before Henry goes off to school, Henry says, Joseph wants to go to work with you, Dad. And so he says, okay, that's fine. And Chucky's kind of just sitting there listening in on the conversation, and they're trying to figure out what to say to the press. And James is just like, just tell them the truth. Like, we were hacked, we're just gonna have to kind of deal with that. Meanwhile, I like this scene between with Henry's character, where you have this kid named Bradley, which seems like he's somewhat of a bully. He says like, oh, where's your creepy ass doll at? And he's like, I got my friend here, so careful what you say here, and I like that. And you really get to see how fucked up like Henry's mindset is right now. And even Teddy's like, man, you gotta kind of just make friends, and actually real friends, and not just always talk to your doll and stuff like that. That's not healthy. And I like that Teddy really be looking out for Henry, because he is really traumatized. He doesn't even want to step foot back into the White House. And it seems like they're going to set up something with him and Grant where he does care about his brother. And they allude to James mentioning why Joseph is like an interesting name for this doll, and it has something to do with their son that passed away. I think it was about a year ago. And also, Charlotte, the mom, is kind of trying to just stay busy and stay as busy as the president. You know what I'm saying? She is the first lady. She feels a lot of pressure. So they finally get to the house, and Henry asks Teddy to sweep his room real quick. So Teddy goes up in there, and this is where we get our first kill, and Chucky just blows Teddy's brains out. You know what I'm saying? And all you hear is screaming. So, of course, like I said, anytime something happens within the White House or anybody within the White House, they have to do some type of press conference. And once again, you see this redheaded lady really pressing it. And it seems like, I don't know if she's going to be friend or foe, or she just kind of sabotage. I don't know. But this has truly traumatized Henry even more. And he just wants, you know, to be around Joseph. But Joseph got to stay in there because his room is pretty much a crime scene. And, you know, what was funny in this is where Grant's talking to one of the security dudes that was kind of looking out for him because they didn't want him to get caught smoking weed. And then he transitions into James and Charlotte smoking weed, which I find so hilarious, you know what I'm saying? But they have kind of a touching moment. This is where they kind of start talking about their son and what they can possibly do moving forward. Now, shifting things back to our main three, that being Devon, Lexy, and Jake. They're pretty much being kind of like homeschooled, but they also start to kind of get these messages, you know, trying to lure Chucky out. And it's funny too, because Jake gets the message like, yeah, I know where this Chucky doll is, or Lexy will get a message saying, yeah, I know where your sister is. And then Devon's like, oh, mine just says fuck you, Devon. That shit was hilarious to me. So Chucky is back on harassing and just, you know, making their lives a living hell by trying to give them some clues to where he is at, because they need to stop him at any cost, by also finding out what happened to Lexy's sister, and that's probably going to be a plot point later on. So we have the funeral for Teddy, and just as, you know, because anybody that's in those governments or like the military, they pop off shots, so you just see how traumatized poor little Henry is. And like I said, this redheaded chick keeps popping back up, and I feel like she's not going to make it out of this season. She's going to be poking around and find herself getting murked. So now our main three have to kind of band together to figure out where exactly is Chucky. And as all this is going on, obviously, like, in the background you have the TV going on. It's like national news, and they find out, damn, Chucky's in the White House. So they're gonna have to make a trip to the White House to take down Chucky and end this once and for all, again, as Devon would say. Overall, really solid first episode. You know, we only got one kill, and I'm curious to see how they're gonna go about doing this plan, because it's the White House. It's not going to be easy to get in there, and it's only going to get more and more bloodier with Chucky and them not knowing how to kind of go about this, and if Chucky is going to try to take out the president, which is very possible. I just have no idea what's happening with Lexy's sister. Are we going to get to see exactly where she's at? Let me know how you guys feel about this first episode, your predictions, how certain things are going to play out. Till next time, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.